So, writing aside, what did we think of the filming? Because I mean,
Very
there's certainly a style on top of it. He has his own style. I mean, bear in mind that this was it was meant to be a TV series, and it got rejected, so he made it into a film. Hence why possibly some characters like Adam perhaps have a bit more of a choppier second half to the film. But I mean, bearing in mind it was shot in, it was shot in '99, released in 2001. It certainly didn't look like it was a late '90s film. It looked like it was probably earlier than that. There's a very interesting style
like
filming.
arty, like transitions and things that he used to kind of like create that sense of fragmentation. There was even the scene when they both rush out of the house after discovering the body. There's a moment where the camera is just still on like a closed door, and then the door opens and she rushes out, and Naomi Watts' character is rushing up behind her, and the frames like they fragment, and they have obviously two different cuts where they've just exposed the film negatives over the top of each other, and so they've got two different takes. Where Naomi's obviously going a little bit more out to the right in one of the takes, and she's coming close towards the camera in the other take, and it creates this really weird, like, bonkers fragmentation effect, which is precisely at the point in time when you're starting to realise that the people in the dreams, or the characters in the dream, aren't who we thought they were. So I think that in the filming certainly, and that's obviously only one example, but the filming certainly, the cinematography in particular, certainly reflected or represented certain of the ideas that were being explored. It was the form of the film, the shape of the film was certainly, what would you say? It was certainly reflective of the content of the film. I'll say that. And I thought it was really interesting, the way that it was shot. There was also a shot when they're about to go into the theatre, the two girls, and the camera's all the way back up the other end of the alleyway, and it's just seeing them as they're about to go in. And it just really quickly, almost as if it's on like a glide cam, or it's on like some kind of fucking steady cam or something, it just zooms in like really quick, just watching them go into the theatre. I don't know, obviously, what that's meant to represent. I have to think about it. I don't know if it's meant to represent anything, but it all added to the unsettling, strangely paced feel of the thing.
Did you guys get scared in that, or did it make you jump when that kind of booky character jumps out of the bin in one of the first couple of scenes when the guys are chatting at the diner?
Yeah, it was a jump scare. It was a jump scare that got me.
Going around, like the camera going around corners for the rest of the film.
Exactly. That was my point. I think that's one thing he did really well, is he used like point of view. Like very rarely you see point of view in films. Like not many people use it, but he used point of view so much in that film, and every single time he switched to point of view, I was so tense because of that first scene where he had that guy jump out at you, and I literally wet myself when that happened.
Yeah.
And every single time then he was in point of view, I was super tense. So I thought that was quite smart.
Can anyone enlighten me on what the Buki monster actually was meant to symbolise?
She was the holder of the blue box, wasn't she? He was.
Yeah.
He was the originator of that blue box.
Right.
Don't know.
Tom, any ideas? Any swings?
No, the only scene I can't really place is that the mystery woman behind the.
Was it
and the scene before?
They were kind of like miniature and dancing around at the bottom.
What at the end?
No, it was her parents, wasn't it?
Well, it's not been actually said who it actually is. It could be. I saw it could symbolise it could symbolize. She mentioned that she won a contest or whatever, and people, there's theories that they're the two people that some of the judges on that contest or whatever, and in a haunting way, or because that was the turning point of her life, or even just people saying simply like just the grandparents, and how turning something that's obviously so warm and cozy into something completely opposite for the ending. These are all just things that just like I can't quite wrap my head around in a methodical way after watching it.
I don't think you're meant to be able to figure it all out. You just layer your own meaning on top of it. You could look at that boogie bum guy monster dude as representing
that is how it's listed on IMDb.
The dark part of her character in some way, because that's in the same place where the woman that she decides to like switch her identity with is from, within her dream. And that dream does not make her come across very well if it's basically her just applying all these like her stilted view of reality, what she wants it to look like, and also like applying all these like horrible things upon Adam, the director, in way of doing that. So she doesn't come across well in it. So you can make it mean whatever you want. I think a lot of the scenes within the films.
What I did like, because you know that I don't like horror films, is that there wasn't really there was a limited use of kind of like music, and I quite liked the almost the lack of forced tension behind each scene, because normally you can tell what's going to happen in a scene. It's quite foreboding with the music, so you can tell a tension's building. There's always going to be strings or something. I think the lack of that in this kind of made it gave the film like a lot of space, so you never really understood what was going to come next within any scene. And I quite like that, because the whole time you're having to kind of think about it rather than let the music tell you how to feel about each individual scene, which I thought was quite good. And it also made it less scary.
That's true. I out of everything, I did quite like the score. I quite like the simplicity of it. It let the pictures tell the story, like you say, and it didn't enforce emotion upon you really. Even towards the the final climax, I think there was much more of an emphasis on the pictures that you're watching as opposed to the music making you feel scared. It was actually more down to do with the acting of the old people and what their purpose was in that final scene, and the acting of Naomi Watts. Actually, I found that more shrill and nerve jangling right at the end than anything else.
Excellent use of nerve jangling. There we go.
Thank you. I thought it was quite good actually. Just the simplicity of it, like you say, allowed the story to tell itself and didn't impose these false emotions upon you.
Yeah, it was. I think it becomes more suggestive when a scene has got nothing in it, like when the camera's just moping around the house, like trying to find things, and there's barely even any room tone. I don't know if any of you noticed that, but there's barely any. In most films, you have like a room tone, like
there's no like black noise or anything. Yeah,
like a general whirring or like a kind of like a white noise, or the sound of birds or planes or cars or whatever it is. They just have that as like standard, and he I think intentionally taken all of that out, and the only noises that were in the scenes were like very specific noises, like the sound of a pen like dropping onto the table, or like the sound of a door creaking or whatever else, and that was it. And I don't know if you noticed at the time, but if you watch it again, look out for that kind of. It is like a complete vacuum of noise. It's like very, very specific sound, specifically decided sound design. And then occasionally there is that kind of like synth that comes in, that kind of like romantic synth that's mostly the theme to Naomi Watts' character. It's kind of like Hollywood, Hollywoodized. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's that kind. I won't sing it either, but it's that weird synth like track that basically plays over the top of her LA character arc, and they basically just replay that over and over and over again throughout the film. which is kind of strange.
Yeah. Do you think the film paced itself
I
quite well?
didn't get like a Hollywoody romantic vibe at all from it. I just think it's quite neutral because.
Oh no,
Yeah,
she was exploding with it in the first like 45 minutes, and all the film sets as well. I think Ash absolutely did. That all of the film sets were just sort of like an ode to what the dream of Hollywood would look like for an actress like her. I thought anyway. Before that's all
Yeah, I had
stolen
the
away.
romantic LA vibe, but that was just me.